Hey everyone, I'm going to read Following to Hell True Stories um, by Tom Cleveland. Wrote what really happened back in the days, true stories of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead. Chapter 12 Looting and Tooting, or Shouting, Looting and Shouting. Beginning in the spring of 1840, Buffalo Hump and his deputies, Yellow Wolf and Santa Anna, obviously not a moonlighting president of Mexico, began to gather a riding party. By mid July, they command at least 400 warriors, and with accompanying women and boys, almost a thousand Comanche set out from the West Texas. As they rode east, they put Homestead and even towns to the torch. The marauders attacked Pretoria on August 6th, arriving before the citizens could be warned. Residents hide in buildings, and the raiders, after killing dozens or so townspeople and riding up and down the street, departing when rifles fired from those buildings began to take its toll. 2 days later, the Comanches attacked Linville, which was the second largest port in the Republic of Texas at the time. They killed 3 men, including a custom officer, Hugh Orrin Watts, and he took his wife of only 3 weeks and a black woman and a child captive. Other residents were saved by climbing into small boats and rowing out to the schooners anchored in the bay. From the vantage point, they witnessed the destruction of looting of their towns, unable to do more than shout, curse, and at the Comanches. The frustrated townfolks observed the raiders burning buildings, draping themselves grandly on top hats and stolen linen, trying feather beds and bolts of clothes to their horses, and dragging them and herding cattle into pens to be slaughtered. One citizen, Judge John Hayes, no relation to Jack, was so outraged that he grabbed a gun and waded shore through the shallow waters and challenged the Comanche to fight. The bruised raiders simply jarred him, believing the white man to be insane. Judge Hayes later discovered he had challenged hundreds of Indians with unloaded pistols. After looting and onto pack mules, Comanche finally began their retreat to the northwest. Later in the afternoon, on August 8th, a handful of rangers had been trailing the war party and prolonged plundering Linville, allowed them uh, to gather more militias, um, including a young Jack Hayes. The combination force caught up with the Comanche and slowly by plundering pack mules on August the 12th at Plum Creek near the city of Lockhart. The Texans were led by General Felix Houston. At first, that came to be known as the Battle of Plum Creek. Went poorly for Texas. Unwisely, Houston had his men dismount, which allowed the Comanches to ring around them, shooting guns and arrows. Finally, after the entreaties by McCulloch and Caldwell, Houston ordered the Rangers to get back on their horses and charge the Comanches. What followed was a running gun battle where Jack Hayes and other Texans attempt to kill the raiders and recover the loot, and the Comanches simply attempt to get away. It ended only when the Texans' horses were too worn out to continue the pursuit. Fewer than 2 dozen bodies were recovered, but the Texans reported killing 8 Comanches. All told, at least 25 settlers were killed since the Great Raid had begun, with other taken prisoners. Plum Creek represents a breakthrough for Rangers, observes Doug Swanson in A Cult of Glory in the history of the Rangers. For the first time in a major battle, they had used Indian tactics and moving attack on horses to fight the Indians. In their own charitable assessment, they also prevent raids on other settlement. However, his odds at Plum Creek warfare from a smashing victory must of the Indians along the hundreds of their stolen horses were able to escape and return to their destiny homes. The Texans were not done avenging Buffalo Hump deadly raid. 2 months later, the administration of the President Lamar selected John Moore to lead a raid of its own. The veterans of the campaign against Kauai's had led a force of eager volunteers against the Comanche. The year before, he suffered embarrassing defeat at San Sable River. He was back again in October 1840, this time assist Ben McAuliffe with the army of 107 men, including Lepen Apache warriors, acting as scout. When they left Austin, their destination was the Comanche homeland to the west. 3 weeks later, 250 miles later, Moore's company near what the Apache scout told the colonel was a Comanche village of 60 families at dawn, October 24th. Rangers have approached without being detected. Attacked the village residents. The Comanches were slaughtered both of the village itself in the Colorado River as they made a futile effort to escape the Texans' firepower. The 3 dozen or so women and children who survived were later sold as slaves. When the word Moore's stunning victory reached Austin, officials could allow themselves to believe that the attack on deep in Comanche territory would break the tribe fighting spirit. This turned out to be true. In any case, there would soon be a threat from other old foes. Hurrying on, Chapter 13. Jack Hayes' bravery during the Battle of Plum Creek had been noted and appreciated by the older Rangers, while no one would doubt Hayes' courage. He did not exactly look like he was one of the Texas frontier early heroes. At 5'8", he was reasonable height for a man at the time, but he had a thin build and his voice was softer than typical for a commander of a men. Still, Hayes seemed a national leader. The following January, he was formally appointed captain of Rangers Company. From the point on, Hayes was of the Texas Rangers in the 1840s. As Mike Cox put in his Texas Rangers, the young Tennesseans would shape in the image of the early Texas Rangers, as surely as a bullet mold turned hot lead into a daily rifle balls. Hayes certainly dealt with Indians in 1841 because President Lamar had decreed aggressive policy against them. But in December of that year, Houston was reelected president again, succeeding his successor in 1842. He promoted a policy of peace not only because of he harbored no hatred for the Indians early in his life, but Houston had lived with the Cherokees, but also because of the Republic of Texas was close to being broke and could not afford ongoing war with those tribes. Effectively were mostly affected, and it seems that Texas would enjoy an unprecedented period of peace. But Mexico had a different idea. The next 3 years saw a series of dramatic events that allowed the Texas Rangers, especially leaders that John Coffee, Hayes, and demonstrate how necessary they were to the young republic. The first of those events became known as Vasquez Insurrection. Also, 6 years after he surrendered at San Jacinto, Santa Anna was still smarting over losing Texas as the territory of Mexico. By January 1842, he successfully recovered in politics, power, and manpower to initiate an effort to take Texas back. Almost immediately, rumors began and swirled San Antonio that it might be 1836 all over again, as though the Texas has never won the independence. Those rumors were true, and an army approximately 700 men, including a contingent of Caddo Indians. The command by General Rafael Vasquez would soon cross the Rio Grande and march in San Antonio. The city leader confirmed the appointment of Jack Hayes to supervise the mounting of the defense. So I'm going to stop there. Hey, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.